They told us the predator reserve alarms mean run, not laugh. But it's hard to sprint when you're clutching two purring chainsaws that keep headbutting your ribs like they own you. My name is Ari Khan, junior xenobiologist, unlicensed optimist, and serial ignorer of sensible advice. The morning the cubs vanished, I was counting tranquilizer darts in the research outpost on Holler 3, listening to rain drum the thermal skin of the dome and the distant chorus of the razor mist forest. The razor mist sings, if you can call a million tiny barbed leaves rasping together a song, a cicada steel whisper that turns the air into velvet sandpaper. Out beyond the sonic fence, something big moved. Out here, big, usually came with 6 claws and a treaty. Attendance check, said Dr. Velez, appearing behind me like a conscience in hiking boots. Tag IDs? I flicked through the live grid. 4 adolescents on the ridge, 3 juveniles by the west blind, and... I scrolled, relieved. 2 neonates in Den 12. Mother proximity beacon is steady. Everyone's where they should be. The species name is Shivra, but everyone calls them predators with a capital P, because it's impossible not to. 1,200 kilos of coiled muscle when grown, quadruple-hinged mandibles like an iron flower, and eyes that shine a deep wine red in low light. And yet if you ever hear a Shivra snore, you'll never be afraid of thunder again. Our reserve wasn't a zoo. It was a promise. Humans got mineral rights on Holler 3, the Shivra got their ancestral breeding grounds protected, and in exchange we learned to live close enough to smell each other's breakfasts without making each other dinner. Mother 9 is pacing, Velez said, tapping a screen. She was already climbing into her exosuit. She shouldn't be. Take the drone. Stay inside the fence. Pacing meant stress. Stress meant the possibility of a charge. The Shivra respected the treaty mostly because we respected their boundaries, and because Mother Matriarch Issel and our colonial council drank tea on the same bench twice a year like 2 old lions pretending the savannah wasn't shrinking. A single tragic headline could turn that tea bitter forever. I launched the scout drone and tilted the monitor. Den 12 resolved out of rain and root, a ribbed cavern matted with the fiber the Shivra comb from razor mist leaves. Heat signatures glowed in the dark. 1 adult. No neonate smudges tucked into the curve of her forelimbs. Glitch? I asked, already knowing the answer. Pan left, Velez said, leaning in. Her eyes lost their smile. I panned. The den walls wore their usual graffiti, scratch marks like tally lines, a woven ribbon of blue or the Shivra prize, and a shrine of bones in precise spirals that would make a mathematician weep. No cubs. The mother flexed her claws in a rhythm that translates across species. Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? The klaxons hit then. Not the soft. A drone's low on charge. Chirp we pretended not to ignore, but the ugly wail that means. This could end badly. The sonic fence shifted to a harsher chord, and the outpost lights cooled to crisis blue. Lockdown, said Velez. Ari with me. Bring the med kit. The treaty tells us how to behave when things go wrong, respond first with aid, then with absence. If a Shivra mother lost cubs and decided grief equaled war, we were supposed to ease, not escalate. We jogged through the corridor into the observation blind, one-way glass backed by woven tungsten, a slice of window into the drenched forest. Rain steamed off the fence in sheets. Beyond it, Mother 9 reared to her full height and screamed. If you have never heard a Shivra mother call for her young, imagine a cathedral pipe-fed lightning, then remember that grief is the same shape in every throat. The sound went through the tungsten and through the careful scaffolding of bravery I'd built out of field manuals and bravado. Velez's knuckles went white on the rail. Pheromone dispersal, she said. I triggered the scent projectors built into the fence posts. The Shivra respond to certain calming molecules the way we do to good tea and favorite songs. Mist blossomed, rain cutting it into lace. For a breath, the mother stilled. Then she slashed the ground and began to circle, sweeping her head low, tasting the air. Her proximity beacon spiked erratically. That readout meant she was thinking about forgetting we were neighbors. Where are the neonates? Velez asked, jaw tight. I checked the grid again. Last ping from Den 12 at 5:17. No movement after. The time at the top of the screen, 6:03. 46 minutes missing in a forest that eats the unwary the way fire eats paper. Poachers? Someone whispered over comms. We all heard the smoke coil on that word. The treaty binds colonists and Shivra counselors. It does not bind every smuggler with a ship and agreed problem. Protocol said stay put, log every reading, wait for the negotiators who spoke fluent matriarch to arrive. I did a very Ari thing instead. I thought if I were a cub, where would I go? Somewhere warm. Somewhere that smelled like life. Somewhere with shiny things. Neonates don't stray from the mother's scent unless something stronger lures them. Say, the human laundry chute we'd rigged to vent the outposts recycled air past the composters, where it picked up enough interesting molecules to send razor-mist moths into religious rapture. For a week, moths had been congregating against the warm metal of the waste access hatch, turning it into a neon prayer wall. Back in a tick, I told Veles. Ari. I'm staying inside, I said, which, technically, was true. The waste tunnel ran under the fence and counted as inside the perimeter, at least on the map lawyers like. The access hatch bit my palm as I spun the locks. Warm air breathed over my face. Ozone, basil from hydroponics, and something sharper, like hot iron and wet mulch, shivered den musk. I slid inside on hands and knees, medkit bouncing against my ribs. The tunnel is human-sized if your human is patient. Mine is medium with too much coffee. Metal rang under my palms. I flicked my headlamp and froze. A pair of eyes the color of twilight wine reflected my light. Small. Wide-set. Unafraid. A shape uncurled from shadow, polished onyx fur, ears like cup leaves, a mouth crowded with little scissor teeth. A shivering neonate stared at me from 2 arm lengths away, antenna whiskers quivering. Hi, I whispered because manners. The neonate sneezed. A second head popped up beside it like the world's most dangerous jack-in-the-box. 2 cubs. Both wearing my laundry like triumph capes, a gray sock draped rakishly over one's back, a braided shirt sleeve looped around the other's middle. Moth wings glittered on the tunnel floor like confetti. They'd followed heaven's bakery smell toward the hatch, tumbled in, and decided they'd discovered a new den. Veles. I breathed into my collar mic. Found them. Waste tunnel, section C. They're, trying on my clothes. Do not touch them, Veles said, every syllable a knife. Do not. One had butted my knee. Hard. It made a little chitter, the Shivra infant equivalent of tag, you're it. The other stumbled over its sock cape, flopped against my thigh, and began to purr. If you've never been purred on by something born to rearrange apex charts, it's like being vibrated by a warm engine. The sound filled the tunnel. I laughed despite myself, not the nervous kind, the kind that rattles loose a rusted hinge inside your chest. Mother 9 is at the fence, Veles said. She's going to come through if we don't give her a sign. Ari. Out. Now. I could back out, report, let the diplomacy team lay a scent trail and play recordings of neonate chatter. The safe move. The sensible one. But a cub pressed its face into my boot and chirped again, and a line from the briefing packet nobody reads until it's too late surfaced in my head, early imprinting window. Shivering neonates build social maps at lightning speed for 12 hours after den opening. Anything warm that vibrates kindly becomes family, until corrected by the mother. Okay, little chainsaws, I told them softly. Let's go see your mom. They answered by climbing me. The first scrambled onto my lap like a furry storm. The second decided my arm was a tree. Claws pricked my suit but didn't break it. I am, to my eternal future scar collection's relief, not entirely stupid. I slid my hands under their bellies the way you handle an impatient house cat that happens to be made of knives, and lifted. Heavier than they looked, dense with mystery and dinner. Walking, I said into the mic. Slowly. Keep the fence's calm scent at full. Ari. Veles's voice lost some knives and found a tremor. If you both make it out, I'll buy you a planet-sized cake. Also, I will kill you. I crawled backward with 2 lit hand grenades that thought I was their favorite tree. The tunnel angled up toward the composters. Headlamp, warm dark, moss like tiny stained glass saints clinging to the hatch. The cubs turned their heads in tandem to watch, making sunder chewing motions of longing. I tightened my grip. The service yard yawned open, wet concrete, bins, the compost towers humming away. Beyond the internal door, observation platform, fence, and an entire treaty breathing in and out with a mother's patience. "Security, clear the yard," Velez said over public channel. "No sudden movements. Ari's coming through with our guests." Guests. I like that word. The door sighed open. Cold damp air leapt from my face, carrying a smell like burnt clove, the fence in crisis mode. Blue light strobed on puddles. Through the observation glass, colleagues froze mid-step, and beyond them, looming like a myth, a shivering mother with frill flared wide as a midnight sun. Her eyes found me. Found the bundles in my arms. The sound she made now wasn't a scream. It was a note that vibrated along the curve of my skull and said, unmistakably, mine. Some ancient part of me wanted to kneel. The 26-year-old with a stubborn streak kept walking. The cubs wriggled, tried to launch themselves at the glass. I sank to one knee to keep skulls uncracked and tucked their heads under my chin. They purred harder. The world narrowed to warm fur, damp air, and the heaviest handful of consequences I'd ever held. "Mother 9. I said, because the fence speakers carry gentle voices. "Your little ones got lost. I want to give them back." She eased forward, tasting the mist that bled through the harmonic field. Another sound softer, a rolling coo I felt in the throat's hollow. The cubs answered. One licked my glove. The other licked my face. Shivra saliva is surprisingly minty, a fact I hope you never learn the same way. "Open a return gate?" I asked. "That's a hard no," Velez said instantly. That was the kind of no with 3 pages of reasons and 5 funerals behind it. "We don't open when a mother is escalated. We lay a scent bridge and let her call them under." I swallowed. The scent bridge works if neonates recognize their mother's trail as more home than the warm creature they're clinging to. Imprinting. Family maps. If I set them down, would they run toward her, or cling harder and make everything worse? Rain hissed. The outpost held its breath. I shifted to stand. The cubs adjusted, careful claws, reckless trust. "Okay," I told Velez, voice steadier than my knees. "Then we make the strongest scent bridge we've ever made." "And if it fails?" she asked. "Then I walk as close as the fence allows," I said, meeting the red not human gaze that didn't need to be. "And I let her see that I know whose they are." "Begin dispersal," Velez ordered. Full maternal blend. "Alert Isilzanvo. If we're about to change the map of what's possible, I want a witness." The mist thickened, sweeter now, laced with musk collected from frill scales shed near Den 12. The fence hummed a chord that harmonized with the mother's coo. The cubs raised their heads in unison, ears tilting. "Come on, little chainsaws," I whispered. "Let's go ho." The fence sang like a wet harp, and in that music the cubs finally lifted their noses as if the air itself had spelled their names. "2 steps left," Velez said in my ear. "That's where the plume pools." I shifted. The calming mist eddied around my knees. On the other side, Mother 9 tracked me with the steady attention of something that had decided I mattered. Between us, 2 neonates scrabbled at the bottom slat where her scent braided through. They vibrated with indecision, mapped to me in the early imprinting window, magnetized by the older map inside their bones. "Matriarch Envoy in 10, someone reported. 10 minutes can be a cliff. The first cub jumped anyway, out of my elbow, onto the concrete, and shoved its face into the scent seam. The second followed because bad ideas have siblings. They called in piping stereo. Mother 9 sank to her belly and breathed, turning mist into a rope. We needed more rope. "We have maternal musk capsules," I said. "Let me amplify her." "Those are rationed," the quartermaster said. "They're worthless if the treaty breaks," I said, already backing toward the supply bay with one cub against my ribs. We slotted a capsule into a portable diffuser and ran it back to the yard. I pressed the cone to the fence seam and thumbed it on. Air filled with a smell like iron and rain on stone. The cub under my arm crushed itself into it. Its sibling at the grate turned from my ankle to the plume. "Breadcrumb them," I said. We laid a trail of cones between the yard and the service portal, our supervised compromise gate, each time to bloom and fade like an olfactory metronome. Caver arrived, blue or collar rain bright, reed instrument unrolled. She touched it to the fence and breathed a thin counternote. The harmonics tightened. "They have mapped you," her translator said, "but we can mark them back." We marked. Mother Nine's breath slowed. The cubs crept along the cones. At the portal, Caver eased the latch. The inner field softened a finger's width. Two small bodies slipped through and vanished beneath their mother's throat. For one held breath, the world knew what it was doing. A flat pop cracked the rain. Yard lights hiccuped. A square of forest went quiet. "Field cohesion drop, southwest," the console cried. "0.4 seconds. Internal patrol move," the Les said. "Weapons cold unless they're first." The pop came again. "Visual on a haze-cloaked figure at node 7, patrol panted. "Cutting the sensor conduit. Old mining baffle. Pursuing." Mother Nine's head swung toward the dark edge and back to me, frill quivering, decision math I couldn't read. "Seal the portal," the Les said. The latch clunked. The fence found its key again, but the dead node hung like a missing tooth. "We can stitch it," I said. "Portable oscillators. Phase lock them to form a pocket wall." "That's a sim," the Les said. "It's a sim we pass," I said. "Give me Juno and the bad idea cart." Caver's eyes were winter clear. "Sing louder," the translator said. We ran. Juno, fast, freckled, kicked the cart free, stacked oscillators and batteries, and muscled it into the ring. The dead leg breathed mist like a wound. We dropped the first fork into the mud, drove its tripod home, and made it sing. I tuned the pitch against the live fence and bumped it half a hair sharp to fight water. 15 meters, another fork. A juvenile chivra unfolded from a low branch, whiskers testing our substitute field. It sneezed and stepped back. "Sync at 60. A tech called. "Battery at 80. We placed the third fork. The gap firmed from ragged to stitched. "Integrity holding 5 minutes," the console said. "Patrol update," crackled comms. "Suspect heading toward North Escarpment with a sealed crate." Caver's mouth tightened. "A scent snare," she said. "They steal breath to bind a child." Mother Nine rumbled, and the fence housing vibrated. "Juno, keep the forks," I said. "I'm going to the overlook. If they try the chute, I can block them from inside with the old water control grate." "I stay inside," I told Velez and ran. Up 2 flights, through a maintenance hatch, onto an overlook above the dead leg. The gorge gathered rain like cupped hands. Through the bars I saw the poacher, a human smear moving with overconfident haste, cloak scattering water in a halo. They cradled a crate slung in a harness. A drone tracked them, the razor mist eating half its eyes. I slapped the emergency release on the grate. Nothing. Manual, then? I heaved the wheel. The grate dropped half a meter with a groan. The poacher flinched, adjusted course to skirt the chute. "Cute," I said. I flipped the muffler toggle. Warm LEDs glowed in the covert at a wavelength razor mist moths consider church bells. Wings gathered. In a minute the exit would be a curtain. "Patrol, they're angling east," I reported. "Chute blocked, moths lit." "Copy," Patrol said. "Herding from the ridge." "Slow them 30 seconds?" I pulled the overflow sluice. Water slammed into the gorge and threw up a mist wall. The haze cloak faltered, its shimmering edge visible like a thought given away. The poacher stumbled. Something flashed at their hip, metal cording electricity. "They're carrying a baffle projector," I said. "If they drop it, grab it intact." A quiet footstep drew my eyes left. Caver stood on the adjacent catwalk, balanced like a vowel. She raised the reed and blew a note that threaded the roar. Below, the poacher hit a fork and chose left, the worst choice. Patrol voices leapt. "We have them!" And then a scuffle. A crackle. "Projector down!" came the shout. "Crate secure!" "Do not open it," Velez said. "Mag seal and bring both in." "Ari, return." Back in the yard, the fence hummed whole. Inside, Mother Nine lay so her body made a ring of night around two small stars. "You stepped off the manual," Velez said when I reached her. "I brought my own," I said. "We need to scan the crate." "Containment first," she said. "Then answers." Patrol dragged the poacher between them, Hayes' cloak limp, baffle halo gone. Underneath, a too young face pinched by hungry choices. The crate thudded onto the table. Its seal light pulsed an urgent green. "Scan," Velez said. The analyzer chimed. Organics heavy on volatiles. Metal filaments with binders. A coil like a ribcage, empty. Caver's frill tightened. "A breath cage," the translator said. "You hang it in the path of a mother's call. It catches the scent at full grief and hardens it into bars. Those who have forgotten how to earn a child use such bars to force one to obey for a time." Iron rose in my mouth. I imagined Mother Nine's call bottled and sold. "Burn it," I said. "We'll catalog," Velez said. "Then burn until the ash is tired. You too," she gestured at Patrol. "Put our contractor in a dry room and find their buyer." The poacher lifted their head. Their eyes went to the fence, to the huge shaped curl beyond. "It's just business," they said. "It's always business to those who don't carry what breaks," Juno muttered. The yard's pulse settled. Techs recalibrated nodes. The oscillators thrummed, small heroes. I should have been done then. I'd carried the cubs. I'd helped stitch the fence. But the cub who'd worn my sock cape lifted its head from its mother's throat and looked at me. Its pupils widened. It made the tiniest, bossiest chirp. Caver followed the gaze and smiled with only her eyes. "They have mapped you, warm one," the translator said. "The map will fade if the mother chooses. Or it will make a new path where our trails meet. I don't want to confuse them," I said, meaning it, and also feeling the part of me that had been claimed answer first. "Stand by the seam," Caver said. "Let their mother see you sing gentle and then still." I went to the fence and stood quiet, hands open, heart slowing. Mother Nine watched. The cub chirped again, saw I wasn't moving toward it, and tucked its face under her frill. The console chimed. "Integrity restored across all nodes. Oscillators can stand down. Leave them for now," Velez said. "Ari, Juno, good work." Then the Colonial Council liaison broke in. "Dr. Velez, the board requests a report and invites you to consider moving den clusters away from high-value veins." Caver turned her head. The translator did not speak. "Tell the board the den stays," Velez said. "Tell them the only thing moving today is the line between what we thought possible and what we just did." Juno bumped my shoulder. "Legend or memorial?" "Embarrassing footnote," I said. With mint breath. The yard laughed softly together. Under a frill, two cubs slept. In a dry room, a poacher faced questions. And just ahead, the map redrew itself with one thin new trail, a line between fear and trust, waiting to be walked if we had the feet for it. Rain on Holler 3 never really stops, it just changes languages. By the next morning, it was speaking in a low hiss that turned every leaf in the razor mist into a whispering ear. I stood at the fence seam again, not because Velez had told me to, but because my boots had made the decision before my brain caught up. The cubs were awake. Both were daring each other to climb over their mother's tail, the way children test both gravity and patience. Mother Nine tolerated them with the stillness of something ancient, but her eyes never left the tree line beyond the fence. Not the outpost. Not me. The forest. "They're expecting another attempt," Velez said, joining me with a thermal mug of something that smelled like cinnamon and science experiments. "The poacher didn't operate alone. Interrogation got us a name, Rintsevek. Runs an illegal wildlife lab in the mining belt. Likes apex juveniles. Pays for them in ore and silence. That crate we took off them, I said. It was empty when we found it. So it was meant to hold more than scent. Veles nodded. We think Sevek's people had a second team. Maybe even planted inside the perimeter. The rain hissed louder. Somewhere in the comm tower, a klaxon test gave 3 slow pulses. Not an alarm yet. Kavra approached from the far end of the yard, her ore collar gleaming even under the clouds. The translator at her throat purred to life. The matriarch knows the name you spoke, it said. This hunter has taken before. She asks if you will walk the inner ring with her voice beside you. I blinked. Walk with her voice? Kavra lifted the reed instrument. She will lend you the sound that turns away teeth. It is rare. It means she thinks you might keep her children's shadow safe while she hunts the light. Before I could ask exactly what that meant, the comms crackled. Field distortion, northwest quadrant. Small, mobile. Pattern suggests a test breach. Veles swore. Ari, you're with me. Kavra, stay here, keep the cubs anchored. But Kavra shook her head. No. The matriarch says the cubs must learn your scent and hers together if they are to follow either in danger. That was how I found myself jogging the inner ring path, Kavra's song curling through the fence like a braided current, while on the other side Mother Nine ghosted along, her frill brushing low branches, her eyes flicking from me to the tree lean. The distortion showed up as a faint shimmer in the rain. 2 meters high, roughly oval, exactly the size of a human carrying something heavy. Juno, take the flank, Veles ordered over comms. Ari, get in close with the oscillator baton. If they're trying a phase cut, you can detune them before they step through. I thumbed the baton active. Its hum made my teeth itch. The shimmer quivered, then jerked back, as if realizing it had been seen. I lunged forward and swept the baton through the air. The field popped like a soap bubble, revealing. Not a human. It was a compact quadruped, fur slick dark with rain, carrying a harness stuffed with small cylinders. Each cylinder pulsed with a faint red glow. Explosives, Veles said, voice gone sharp. They're trying to blow a node and punch a gap. The creature bolted. On the far side, Mother Nine roared, a sound that hit my bones like a mallet. She matched the runner's pace, driving it back toward me. I cut left, baton raised. Juno dove from the right, low and fast, forcing the thing to veer into my arc. I swung. The baton's oscillation struck the harness frame, shattering 2 cylinders. Red light bled into the rain and died. The quadruped spun to bite, jaws opening on a hiss that was almost mechanical, then it crumpled under its own momentum. A tranquilizer dart protruded from its flank. Behind it, Kavra lowered a compact rifle designed for this one specific mercy. Secure it, Veles said. And those charges. We worked fast. The cylinders weren't simple explosives. They were laced with the same metallic binders we'd found in the breath cage, only this time tuned to detonate into a wide radius scent disruption. The plan was obvious. Blind the fence sensors to scent, then steal what they wanted while the matriarch searched in the wrong direction. Mother Nine paced close on the other side, frill rippling. She was close enough now that I could see the rain bead and roll off the tiny cilia along her jawline. The cubs were behind her, mimicking every movement like tiny shadows. She understands, Kavra said quietly. She knows this was meant to take her young again. We hauled the captured saboteur to the yard. Veles ordered a full lockdown sweep. But as the gates cycled shut, the real alarm finally blared, deep, urgent, nothing like the tests. Unidentified aerial inbound, the comm tower shouted. No transponder, low altitude, masking behind the storm front. Veles didn't even look at me before saying, Ari, you and Kavra get to the cubs now. Everyone else, sky shields live, projectile intercept ready. The rain above the razor mist began to churn, as if something big was pushing the clouds aside. And for the first time since I'd met her, Mother Nine didn't look at the forest or the fence. She looked straight up. Somewhere in the clouds, something screamed, metal on air, and the cubs pressed against her legs. And then the sky broke. The first thing through the clouds wasn't a ship, it was the pressure wave. It slammed into the razor mist like a giant's hand, flattening the canopy in a rolling ring, turning rain to mist. A heartbeat later the silhouette appeared, black against the gray, sharp-angled and insectal. Not a cargo hauler. Not anything that belonged in this hemisphere. "It's a drop skimmer." Valessa's voice came over comms, pitched too tight. "Custom retrofits. Fast in, fast out. Those hold bays could carry cubs." I finished for her, even before I saw the narrow restraint pods along its underside. The skimmer banked hard, engines howling, and I realized they weren't even going for the fence. They were angling for the one place our protocols left exposed, the emergency medevac platform. A treaty concession, always open for injured wildlife or personnel, a clear stretch with no sonic wall. Safe, unless you came to take. Kava was already moving, reed at her lips, pouring out a song so low it felt like it came from the marrow. Across the fence, Mother Nine surged toward the platform, cubs tucked against her chest. "They're going to try to snatch them on the run," Juno yelled, pounding up beside me. "We've got 20 seconds tops." I didn't think. I grabbed the scent capsule rack from the supply bin, yanked the whole harness over my shoulders, and ran for the platform's edge. Valesse shouted something that got lost in the rain. The skimmer roared lower, its belly opening like the mouth of a mechanical shark. Twin grapples uncoiled, tipped with capture nets. "Drop the plume, Ari!" Juno cried. I hit every trigger on the harness. Musk bloomed in a wave so thick it cut through the wind, an overripe, impossible storm of Mother Nine's scent we'd banked from months of shed frill scales. The air itself turned into a wall of home. The cubs froze, not in fear, but recognition. They clung harder to their mother, chittering. Mother Nine roared, a sound that split the storm, and launched herself sideways, dragging them into the cover of the razor mist just as the skimmer passed overhead. The grapples closed on empty air. One snagged the platform rail, sparking as it tore loose. The skimmer tried to climb, but Kaver's song shifted, piercing and high, and the razor mist canopy seemed to come alive, branches whipping up into the slipstream, slashing at the craft's intakes. It veered, coughing black smoke, and I saw Juno at the far edge with a portable oscillator set to overload. She shoved it against the undercarriage and dove. The blast wasn't huge, just enough to disrupt its balance. The skimmer spiraled away, struggling to level, vanishing back into the storm with a sound like something fleeing an argument it hadn't won. Silence followed. Not real silence. The rain was still whispering, the fence humming, but the kind where every breath feels loaned. Then the forest broke it. Mother Nine emerged, slow and deliberate, cubs in tow. She stopped just short of the fence, close enough that I could see every bead of water clinging to her fur. One cub, the sock-caped culprit, trotted forward, right up to the barrier seam. It looked at me, ears forward, and made a single sharp chirp. Then it turned, pressing its head into its mother's leg. "She says the map will keep," Kaver's translator murmured. Mother Nine's gaze held mine for a long moment. No growl, no roar, just that weight of recognition, and something that might have been permission. Then she turned, gathering her cubs, and melted back into the razor mist. The yard exhaled as one. Valesse came up beside me, soaked, hair plastered to her forehead. "You just put yourself on a matriarch's personal watch list," she said. "Which is either the safest or most dangerous place you can be." I managed a laugh. "Guess we'll find out." By the time the lockdown lifted, the cubs were back in their den, the oscillators were stowed, and the captured saboteur was on a shuttle to stand trial off-world. The sky was still bruised from the storm, but the rain had softened into something almost gentle. That night, as I logged the day's chaos, I thought about maps. The ones we make on paper, the ones in the fences, and the invisible ones that live in the heads of creatures who decide, for reasons we may never fully understand, that we belong inside their circle. The cubs had been gone, and now they were home. And somewhere out in the razor mist, a matriarch knew my scent. That was enough to make me hope the next map we drew would be one worth walking, together.